You are now tuning in to the Evolution Daily Podcast. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Evolution Daily Podcast. I am here with a return. Mo, have you done the podcast, or you've been in the mastermind, but have you also been on the podcast?
So I was on the mastermind that you recorded, and I think you made it a podcast.
Oh, I think I did. I was lazy that week.
That was about a year ago, I think. It's been a minute. Yeah.
It's been a while. Guys, I'm here with Coach Mo. Mo, one of the things that I really I like about your content, but also what I've been able to relate to the most is I feel like you and I have an extremely similar body type. And here's what I mean, for clarity, and then we'll get back to the introduction. For clarity, Mo is in significantly better shape than me. Okay, he is in much better shape than me. But you've shared your photos of what it looks like when you get fat and when you like really lean down, and I feel like we look very similar when we get fat, when we lean down. So then I see you taking these photos that look very similar to what I looked like at my worst, and then seeing you lean out over like 6 months, and it's inspirational. You guys can follow Mo over at what exactly? How do you spell your Instagram?
It's just Moe Ghias. So MoeGhias. That's for everything. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everything. Yeah. Clubhouse even.
And you're on Clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, let's.
I haven't used it yet, really. Like I'm on it, but yeah.
Let's do a Clubhouse room together, dude.
We should, dude. I've been wanting to do it with a friend that like wants to do it, because I see so much bull. Every time I go on Clubhouse, I get depressed. I'm like, who's this person talking? And this is a business coach, and they don't even know what they're talking about. But yeah, it'll feel good to do it with someone who's legit.
Bro, what is going on today where everybody is like, dude, this is every industry. Everybody's a dating coach. Everybody's a fitness coach. Everybody's a business coach. But you are right. I go to these clubhouses where it's called like bust through the 10K a month ceiling or whatever. And it's some bitch. No, I'm kidding. No,
no, I get it.
But it's some chick on there that's like, and like, I just realized that the more that you give value, then your Instagram will pop to 500,000 followers. And then I go to her Instagram, and she's just a model. She just has huge tits and her fucking amazingly hot body. But then it says like entrepreneur coach, and this is why I have 500,000 followers. You people are clueless,
bro. It's a real problem, and I think this is what I find a lot of comfort in. So when I started fitness coaching 4 years ago, I would be in little like what do you call it on social media, where you like end up being in circles of people that do the same shit, so you hear the same. What do you call it?
It's like a bubble, an echo chamber.
Echo chamber, yeah. So I remember being there, and I was like, man, all these people are kind of like my competitors. Shit, right, bro? 4 years later, I shit you not, I was going through those pictures again. I think there's only like out of 120 people in that big picture, there's only like 5 that are still doing fitness coaching, because the market, like Gary Vee says, the market is brutal. So if you are not legit, it'll filter you out. And that's what I find a lot of comfort in, because I'm like, dude, I'm still here. Like, I'm still doing it. I'm still in the game. Whereas a lot of people that do it for the money, or they're like, I want to do this because it makes money, and they don't last, man. Like, you've been a dating coach for a long time now. And in the online world, I feel like 5 years is like 20 years. Just because it's like no one sticks around that long, because the market takes care of you.
Yes, absolutely. And it's hard to know this for a fact, but I would venture to say that the people, I've talked about this before, the people that get famous musically, for example, right? Like an artist, they were gonna play and practice the same amount whether the fame came or not. Now, maybe rappers, it's a little different. So I feel like most rappers are kind of going in with the intention to like blow up and get rich and famous and the clout and shit, right? But especially when you take rock and roll, maybe even a lot of pop singers, I think Taylor Swift, regardless of whether she ever blew up or not, would have still been just like playing her guitar and singing all day, every day. So you can't go into these areas just wanting to make money. Of course, you and I want to be fucking rich. Of course, we want to live a great life, provide for our families, all these things. But the reason why you've stuck around for as many years as you have and why I have is because we actually love doing what we now do for a living, and our
Yeah.
audience can tell.
Bro, it's kind of like, let's say like you went on a date with someone that is like a A-level celebrity or some shit. The next day, Aaron Alexander might still be at the mall gaming if he wants to. That's how I look at my life too, right? I remember one of the trophies here, LA Fit Expo was like the height of my fitness career. I wanted to compete in that show for so long. And when I competed, I got like fourth place in. I was so happy because it's LA Fit Expo. And I remember getting back home that night at like 2 a.m. And the next morning at 11 a.m., I was at the gym because it's who I was. And that day it clicked. I'm like, God just gave me the trophy I've always wanted. And like, it's like everything that came with it. I have a good thriving business, but I'm back at the gym and no one is making me do it. And that's when you realize like you're doing it for something more than just what the outside world sees, more than the body. Because now you have the body, you won the freaking show, and but you're still in the game. And I think that's what separates the winners, right? Like Elon Musk, number one richest guy, is still in the game. Dude is putting in hours, and he's the richest guy, number one guy or number two guy in terms of his wealth. Jeff, like all these guys, you look at them and I'm like, their character traits are very different versus when you ask someone down the street, you're like, hey, what would you do if you won a lottery? And they give you some like saying that, oh, I'll stop working or I'll do this. And the guys with the money or the girls with the money, they're still in the game. And I'm just like, maybe the goal is to keep the game going. And that's the only goal.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating, bro.
It is. Yeah. And that and the sticking around, the consistency, the long-term consistency and the sticking around, that is where you start standing out as well. It's not only the content. In my world, right? In the world of fucking pickup and dating or whatever, every goddamn guy that sleeps with three girls and owns an iPhone becomes a pickup coach. Every
Mm-hmm.
fucking guy.
Totally
And
agree.
what's funny, and I've seen this over the years, is this is what they do, right? They come into it for a little while, they
Mm-hmm.
disappear, and then like months later, they come back with like this big announcement. Huge things underway. We're going to be launching a new course and a new world tour and blah, 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 all these things. And I'm like, and then they disappear again after that. And then they come back again, right? And what this is literally like, I can translate this to the audience. This is what it is. Hey, I really need money. So I'm going to coach pickup now. Hey, actually, this is extremely hard and things are picking up at my normal job, so I'm going to disappear for 6 months. Guys, I realized I had to share my passion with the world. Fuck you, you're broke. These guys are broke. And the same thing happens with like fucking fitness coaching. And dude, I signed up. I want to tell my audience this. I signed up for what is your program called?
Training with the Titans. Yeah.
Training with the Titans. And your level of involvement with your clients was amazing to see.
Thank you.
You are in that group chat, people are asking questions, you're responding with, you didn't make any big promises up front. You don't say like, I'm going to be in the group chat all day every day, because you know that you couldn't sustain that in certain life situations. But you're in there all the time answering questions with videos. You're doing like Q&As in there, all this stuff. And so even that, I was able to see. I was a bad student for the program because your coaching was
Yeah.
phenomenal, but I was
Yeah.
refusing to do it at the time, because I was in a fat stage and I wasn't doing so well. But you're a
That's
dedicated coach.
thanks, man. Appreciate you. Coming from you means a lot. And I think that's another thing, right? So we're both coaches, and I think oftentimes people look at coaching as like a product, which is like, oh, like I'm sad now, I buy this and I get to that. But coaching is a two-way street, right? Which is a really good point that you brought on, which is if you hire Aaron Alexander or you hire me for fitness, we'll bring our best foot forward because we're good at what we do. but you also have to bring your, like, as a client, as a student, you also have to bring your game too. And I think in coaching more than anything, you get the best results when it's like I made a post this morning, is every fitness transformation is like an orchestra. There's a lot of little things that are going into it, and it's only when every piece of the orchestra plays at the same time at the right time that things come together. And I think in coaching, people often miss that. Like, I get clients sometimes that come through our funnel, and it's like, okay, like I get on the phone with them, and they're really expecting it to be kind of like a pill, that you take the pill and all of a sudden you are another person that's shredded and all of it. And I'm like, man, like, it doesn't work. Like, it's a process. Saying like, I don't even know if I would appreciate the end game as much if it wasn't a process. Like, if someone gave me a pill and they're like, dude, you are this person now. Like, if you were a shy, unconfident person and Aaron gave you a pill that turned you into this like pickup god within like one day, I don't think you'll appreciate that as much. Versus if you constantly go out, constantly like talk to people and develop that confidence, you're a different person. So coaching, to sum up the point, it definitely is a two-way street. Aaron is brave enough to admit it. Problem is, a lot of people just don't admit it. They just don't think that like, they don't take responsibility for their own thing, and they're like, oh, the program was shit, or like, oh, I hired that person for that and I got no results. And it's like, well, like, did you bring your best foot forward too? Because people have gotten results. And I think that there are some programs that are shitty for sure. There's some coaches that are shitty, but if 70% of people are getting great results and you are in that minority that's not, or 90% are getting great results and you're not, that's the self responsibility part that I find being on Facebook all day, like talking to people. Like, people they just don't get it, man. Like, that is taking ownership for your own life. And I know you've been talking a lot about that lately. That's why I've been vibing with your content so much. Like, dude, take responsibility. It's like the first step to anything.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so for me, I want to stick to this idea of consistency because I'm glad we hit on it. And I think it's one of the most important factors to success, whether it be business, pickup, fitness, whatever. And I've had a, I've had a struggle over the years with consistency. Started out 290 pounds, crash dieted my way into having a decent body. Crash dieted. Keto diet 6 days a week, binge eat on the seventh. When I was doing that, Tim Ferriss says in his book, The Flower Body, he says, I actually don't recommend working out. Now he doesn't say that period. He says, when you're like obese, right? Working out is going to make you a lot hungrier. So when you're doing this crash diet that he's recommending, it's actually going to be easier to do the crash diet without working out. Now, again, this is for like obese people. And I did it, man. I lost like 23 pounds month one, 17, 15, 10. I mean, boom, 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 boom. Then what happened is my body just became okay. And I've now rode out my okay body for years. And for me, now I have found, and I would like to see if you had maybe a point in your career as well. I have now found what makes me enjoy working out. I've found the workout. I've found the tracking method. I've found the diet. I have now put all the pieces together. And I am currently in easily the best shape of my life and will continue to build upon what I've done because now I enjoy it. Did you struggle with not enjoying it, falling off, not sticking to things, and then find something that worked for you?
Yeah, bro. So what happened was I became a competitive fitness model in like 2017, and then I moved to LA. And like 6 months later, I'm fat again. And this happened after I was in the best shape of my life, like right after college. And I was like, how the fuck did I get fat? And I'm in a city like LA, and I'm no longer in shape. That was such a bad place to be at because I would go to Gold Gym, train next to like J Lo and Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these celebrities and all these like some of the hottest people in the world go to LA and take their shirt off and work out by Venice Beach. And now I'm there and I'm fat. I remember thinking like, how did this happen, right? And so for me, I realized like all of that cardio, all of that like eating strict was thrown off because I moved to a new city and I didn't have a place that I could call my own and have my own routine. So what happened was by default, I went back to my old behaviors and gained all the weight back, right? So at that point, I had to sit down with myself. I was like, I need to get back, and I don't know how. So I brought back my old coach that got me in shape, and I was like, Derek, I need you back. So we got into powerlifting, got into the best shape of my life again, and now I've stayed with it for the last like 3 years. I've not been really out of shape. And what I realized was routines, and you got to find your routines, right? So what is the minimal amount that you can do every day that you can sustainably do for the rest of your life, kind of thing? And for me, getting fat after winning a show was like that aha moment. I'm like, shit, I cannot allow this to happen. And now like the routines are so solid. So even though I travel, I move around. I'm in Michigan right now, hanging out with parents. Like my routines are still the same, bro. I drink from the same coffee mug every day. I make my coffee
Yeah.
the same way. Make my coffee the same way. I literally train around the same time. I pretty much eat around the same time. My night routine, morning, like even when I'm traveling, I want to be as grounded as possible in my fitness, one way or another. Like there are times when I would be at the gym and I would take my shirt off and I would look at it. I was like, yeah, I'm still in really good shape. I'm like, perfect. Like when you're getting fat, what happens is you stop taking your shirt off and you stop looking at yourself and then you're avoiding it. And that avoidance creates more problems in the long run. So the best thing to do is create routines that constantly remind you to be in shape. So I have a lot of friends that are in really good shape. And if they ever see me sliding or if I ever see them sliding, we call each other out. Like the accountability is everywhere. So if you can set up an environment that constantly pushes you, like it's like, hey man, like what are you doing? You need to get shredded again. What's happening, Mo? Right? And so for me, what changed was the routines and having an environment that constantly pushes you to be your best because
Yeah.
you can't hang out with the kings looking like a peasant all the time, right? So like you just kind of have to become a king in that process.
That's great. I love that. Was this something I've seen you post that's fucking funny? Was this when you got fat again? Was this when you were like lying to yourself saying that you were in a bulk, that you were like doing a bulk?
I was on like, bro, that's one of the biggest misconceptions where guys, they want to get bigger and get shredded at the same time. And unless you're enhanced, like it's super hard to do that. So a lot of people, they're like, a lot of guys come to me and they're like, man, I want to look like Chris Hemsworth and I want to be like, shredded. And I'm like, dude, you're 160 pounds, skinny fat dude. Like Chris Hemsworth is 230 pounds, muscle dude. Like very different bodies. Give it up. That's a 5-year project, not a 3-month project. It's a very different mentality. And so a lot of the time I tell guys, I'm like, what are you currently doing? They're like, I'm bulking up. I'm like, how? Tell me more. They're like, I'm bulking up on a 4,000 calorie diet. I'm like, that's a straight road to being fat, dude. Like you're going to
Yeah.
get fat. Like, and so many guys are bulking on a 4,000 calorie diet and they don't have any direction or there's no like measure of progress, right? So you look at them and you're like, you're just putting on fat. You don't like muscle is it's and you gain muscle slowly, then you gain fat. Like fat is just they're those fat cells are there more for most guys and they just keep blowing up. Whereas muscle, it's literally a construction process in your body with every layer of fiber that's being built. So you can almost assume, like almost imagine it being taking longer than building on fat. So a lot of guys, I'm like, hey, like first priority for you if you're skinny fat is to lose that fat, get leaner. If you can get leaner, you'll gain this new excitement for exercising and new training and all of it. Because when you can see your shoulders and when you can see your abs, all of a sudden you're more excited to train them. And when you train them, now once you're leaner, we can give you more calories. We can have you bulk a little more just because now you'll be afraid to lose your abs. You'll never let it get too out of control. Whereas when you're bulking, like that's not really bulking because you don't see your abs already. Like what are you bulking on? Like you're going to put on a lot more fat than you need to and then you're going to do endless amount of cardio, endless amount of cutting calories to get back. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions I see in nutrition these days.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love about the current landscape of fitness is really everybody coming out against a lot of these starvation diets. I follow this girl, and I could probably very easily pull her up. She's one of my favorite fitness accounts. No, she's not even like that hot. I mean, if she's here, if she hears this, like she's definitely hot. But I mean, like, I don't follow her just because I'm like, oh, look at this ass, right? Like, she's actually really cool, is what I'm getting at. Her name is Kelly Nicole Fit, and one of the things that I love that she posts often is she'll show her before and afters, right? And she was always just kind of like like kind of like a skinny fat sort of body. And
Mhm.
what she'll show is she'll show like a skinny fat kind of photo of her, and she'll say 1,500 calories. Then she shows her now, and I take that back. You're hot. She is hot. Like, but I was just trying to
Let's
I
give
was
it to
just
her. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just trying to say I'm not just jerking off to her pic. She's got great content, is what I'm getting at. You are hot. And but now she shows her like amazing body, big ass, like great toned body, and then she puts 2,800 calories, right?
Yeah.
She's eating more and has this like amazing physique now, this amazing body. And every time I crash diet, which I never will again, I now have the healthiest relationship with food, the healthiest mindset around food. I will never crash diet again, but every time I ever have, it's I lose some water weight for a week or two. I'm down 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Yeah, like, look, I can even kind of see I've lost some water weight, whatever. And then I travel, and then I lose motivation, and then I have some bread early in the day. So I'm like, oh, fuck it. Today's a cheat day now. Like, whatever it is, it's detrimental. And so I think that what we can kind of say between from what you just said and what I just said is that we need to find where our maintenance calories are. And when bulking, eat just above, not up to 4,000, but just above. And when cutting, eating just below, maybe a little more below, but with a healthy, well balanced, sustainable, mentally sustainable diet, right?
100%. That's literally like what you just said. That's how we do it. Like that's literally the game. And most people, they avoid all of that conversation, and then they just go crash diet. Then they end up being disappointed. Like there are people, bro, that have been in the same shape as they were 3 years ago as they are today, and I'm like, man, just come work with me. And they're like, they've been wanting to, and they're just on that like hump of like, no, I can do it on my own. And I'm like, well, you're not willing to face the truth. Like, just like the whole like calorie situation that you mentioned, that's so true. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of nuances that go into it. And a lot of people are like, okay, how do I find out my BMR? And it's like, well, like they just go on Google, calculate their basic metabolic rate, and that's their number of calories their body burns just for being alive. And then they look at that number, and I'm like, shit, okay, yeah, that's a good number. And then if you follow the traditional advice, which is if you're bulking, eat a little below, if you're cutting, eat a little less, most people just aren't that disciplined. And that's the hardest part. Like they kind of like ballpark everything, and then they're like, I'm not getting results as fast as that guy. And even when they get results, they're comparing themselves to everybody on Instagram. So it ends up being really, really tough. Like yesterday I got a message on Facebook, and one of my friends, she posted a picture of her running a race where she burned 1,100 calories or something, right? And then she had like a big big, like she was at a brunch place and eating like a lot of pancakes, right? And she tagged me in that photo, and she's like, Coach Mo, you approve, right? And then in the bottom she goes, I ran a race which is 1,100 calories. And I just literally go in the chat, in the comments, I just post a gif that said no comments. Like I'm not gonna comment on this, right? Because she was looking for some validation. And so she slides into my DM. She's like, was that really bad? I'm like, yeah, you're acting like a broke entrepreneur who makes $2,000 and spends $2,500 on a watch to flex. Like
Wow.
you're
Yeah.
literally, because it's like, why? Like you burned 1,100 calories doesn't mean you have to reward yourself for 1,100 by eating shit ton of food. Like you don't. A lot of the time, it's like if you're trying to lose weight, burn calories, go exercise, do if you love it, but at the same time, don't just go back to IHOP and then reward yourself, right? Like that reward stuff is good, but stay disciplined with it. Be like, okay, like, do I really need this pancake, or am I just doing it because I'm like, I want to reward myself? But if you give little rewards along the way to yourself, you end up getting so much further, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's that mentality of like making 2,000 and spending 2,500 on a watch. Like you
Yeah.
don't.
And wouldn't you say that let's say that this girl was wearing, I'm sure she was wearing an Apple Watch or something. I'm sure she tracked that 1100.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that the pancakes would have been much more justified and less detrimental to her overall physique had that 1100 calories come from like a really intense leg day with some added cardio in there? Because now you're, again, I'm definitely going to step out of my realm of expertise, but now you're like refilling the glycogen stores of the muscle, like you're helping the repair, right? Wouldn't the pancakes have been more beneficial then?
It's that you're referring to the afterburn effect, which is so real. So strength training gives you an afterburn effect, which means if you have a strong leg day or if you're doing any kind of weight training, right? Real weight training, you'll be burning calories for the next 24 hours just for your body to like replenish itself. So that's why when you look at a lot of people that are cardio bunnies, guys or girls, like I go to a gym sometimes, people are always on the treadmill. I'm like, dude, come on, step out of the weight section a little bit. And those people never look any different because they burn 200 calories running on the treadmill every day, and those 200 calories don't really amount to anything. Whereas the people that are in the weight section, not only do they burn 100, 150 calories while they're in the session, but they're burning calories even when they're sleeping because their body is building that muscle because strength training creates that need. And if you look at it, if she did strength training, first of all, this is the best part. If she did strength training, she would likely not feel like eating a lot of sugar afterwards because strength training, like when you fill up your muscles and you work them out, you want protein and you want healthy fats right after. Like your body craves it. Your body is so smart. But when you treat it like shit, it kind of starts treating you like shit too. So like if you have been on a run for 2 hours, you burn 1100 calories, you eat pancakes, what do you want to do afterwards? You're probably going to fall asleep. But if she had a big steak or if she had like a really like good nutritious meal afterwards, the body's reaction would have been very different. So I look at when I look like work with beginner clients, we start with training. And this is something I've learned over the years after working with a lot of people. When you start people with training instead of nutrition, the habits are much better. So when you start people with training, first of all, a strength training workout, a good workout, is there's no mercy. Like either you bring your A game to the workout or you don't. So like let's say you're doing something as simple as a barbell curl or a dumbbell curl, right? If you're dehydrated, you will feel it. You will feel your muscles not feeling very good. If you had alcohol the night before and if you're like, did not sleep very well, your muscles will not be nice to you. You will not be as strong. So what happens is I start my clients with strength training in the beginning because it fuels into every other habit that's on that chain of reactions. So first it's like, okay, had a really good workout. Why was that? Well, because I slept 8 hours last night. I drank 3 liters of water yesterday. I had enough protein and I ate really healthy. But if you have fries at McDonald's for 2 days in a row, try doing a leg day afterwards. You will throw up. Your body won't be able to. So we always start with training just because it's like chain reaction, and then people sleep better. I often joke with my clients. I'm like, if you can't sleep good at night, it means you're not deadlifting good enough. Because you do a strong set of deadlifts, you fall asleep like a baby that night. And most people just avoid those truths. They're like, I don't want to be in the weight section. It's scary or it's that. And I'm like, do you really want that body or not? Right. And it's just process, right? Like sometimes to get to your goals, you got to become that person that can achieve them. So now it's like same thing here. But my process has always been training first, and then everything else kind of starts falling into place.
And I will say too, I can really relate to everything you just said about being into cardio and being intimidated by weights. When I first started losing weight and going to the gym, I was a student over here at OSU, and we have what's called the RPAC. And the RPAC is just a temple of the human body. I mean, this place is a fucking facility. I mean, the OSU football team's like working out in there. I mean, it's amazing. And I remember being really fat, bad acne, kind of looking like a child, even at age like 21, and just like wearing loose clothes and walking into the gym. And I had used weights before when I played like middle school football and shit, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I would get in there and I would do the arc trainer and I would just kind of be looking over the big weight section and it's just a bunch of jack dudes. Everyone seems like they're friends. There's like coaches in there yelling at people. I was very intimidated, right? And I really actually never hit the weights while I was at the RPAC because of that intimidation when I was younger and more beta and low T. I didn't start doing the weights really until I went to Planet Fitness. So it took me going to another beta low T environment in order to hit the weights. But the recommendation I would give to anybody is I think I even got more comfortable at my current gym because my current gym is like a full meathead gym. It is just bad bitches, jacked ass dudes. Everyone's on growth hormone. Everyone's just fucking shooting tren while they're working out. So I got more comfortable at my gym actually by hiring a trainer. Get a personal trainer if you don't know what you're doing. Because the fear, I know that a lot of people listening that feel the same way I felt, the fear is that you're going to go try a machine, you're going to go try a lift, you're going to go try something, and you're going to look like an idiot. Everyone's going to be looking at you thinking like, wow, his form is terrible. Wow, this kid has no clue what he's doing, all of that. So if you start with a trainer, you're now not going to do something wrong. The trainer is showing you how to do it. So to anybody out there, I don't think you need an in-person personal trainer for long-term sustained results. If you can afford it and it's what you choose to do, then sure. But just getting a few sessions in person will make you understand your gym better now. The trainer's going to make you, he made me use machines I would have never otherwise touched that are now like my favorite machines. Things to that nature. So I think it's beneficial. And I want to say, dude, I love what you said. You said a little while ago, you said your body is so smart. And that's fucking true, man. Like, my body will tell me what I want to eat when I'm lifting a lot, when I'm working out a lot. And it won't be my memory of like, oh, this amazing donut or this candy bar or some shit like that that I know would taste good. I don't even want those things. I want heavy protein. I really want bread a lot of times after my workouts. I do try to steer clear of just straight up like bread. I'll usually go with oatmeals. I'll go with wraps that are, I have these like extreme wellness. They're like 50 calorie, gluten-free
Oh, they're
kind of
good.
wraps. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
great. They're great. So I usually go with those, but sometimes I stop and I get a sandwich. But
Bro,
that bread,
funny note on those raps. One of my clients, Manish Sethi, he was on Shark Tank. He
I
was
know
in
that dude. That dude's worked with you.
Yeah, he's a client. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He
that's
was
what's
in
up.
He was in Tulum, Mexico. That's where he was staying. And when he started working with me, I was giving him a list of things. I was like, yeah, you should get this. And he's like, yeah, totally. He's like, one day messages me. He goes, bro, I'm gonna fly into Miami just so I could buy all those Mission Valley and Extreme Wellness tortillas, and then fly back that same day. He did that.
Oh my god, bro.
So he took a 1.5 hour and a half flight to Miami, packed a bunch, went back, and he's living happily thereafter. But
Dude,
continue on.
those wraps are great, man. I love those, man.
Yeah.
I do 120 grams of turkey. I'll either go with like 7 grams of mayo, or I'll use this like 20 calorie, like almost nothing, like spicy kind of sauce. Dude, wrap that bitch up. It's like 30 grams of protein. It's like 260 calories, 290. I mean, it's amazing. And this is what I mean, dude. As somebody that went from just like a binge eater my whole life to like, just who cares, man? Pizza, wings, working at pizza shops, making like mozzarella stick pizzas and crazy shit. Then crash dieting. I've now found these really good, healthy ways to eat. For example, I posted on my mastermind today. One of my new favorite meals is I take 2 servings of oatmeal, cook it, and then I just mix 1 scoop of chocolate protein powder, mix it all together. Dude, it's like hot cocoa pebbles. I look forward to it. It's healthy. It's amazing.
Bro, 100%. So a lot of those recipes, like that's when it becomes a lifestyle and you start looking forward to it. And what's funny is that on that note of our body being so smart, so this gets tricky at one point. So if you're someone listening, I'll tell you the nuance to that idea because it's so true for someone that already trains because your body will tell you what it wants, and it's the awareness, right? But if you're someone that's just starting and you're 300 pounds and you're obese category, your body is likely messed up by now. Like it does not know like what it really wants. You have treated it poorly for so long, no offense, that your body doesn't know, right? The right thing now. So for those people, I would say hire a coach, right? It just goes back to that and trust the hell out of that coach until you develop your own awareness that you can trust yourself now. So what happens with a lot of people, it's like with any habit, right? People walk into your program, my program with preconceived notions, right? Of, hey, I want to go there, but it's kind of like I want to date the hottest girls, but then I don't want to go to a Starbucks and talk to those girls or that girl or those girls. And it's like Aaron is telling you to do it because it'll build confidence that one day if you come across that model, you will be able to talk to her. Same thing here, right? So the point I'm making, I know it's a long form answer, but it's like sometimes you're too early in the game to trust your body. So there'll be times when you start a new diet, give it at least 3 weeks, give it at least 21 days of some good discipline for your body to be like, I know what healthy feels like. And now I don't want to go back to the old ways. But if you start eating healthy, maybe you do it for 2 days and then your body tells you that it wants a donut and you give it that donut, all of a sudden what's happening is you haven't built good enough habits yet to enjoy and go back to or listen to your body. So like for guys like us, we've done it for so long that my body tells me that I don't want Girl Scout cookies. Like I want something good or I'll fall asleep. Like when you run a business, your energy matters a lot. So like for me, like I don't waste my time on anything. If I'm on a call and I'm like, yeah, this person's wasting my time, I would just leave. Like I'm like, dude, like I got better things to do, right? So like same thing with your body, right? So when you're in the beginning phases, this is for people that are in the complete beginning. If you're in the beginning phases, don't trust your body just yet because it hasn't formed that habit of eating healthy yet. Be strict for at least 2 weeks or 21 days to where you're like, hey, like I'm gonna force myself to do it. But after those 21 days, it gets easier and easier because now you have tasted what it tastes like to feel healthy. Does it make sense?
Totally, totally. It's actually very similar to when you start doing testosterone replacement therapy or other any other steroids or whatever. They say with TRT that over time you're going to get dialed in. And I could not even comprehend that when I heard people saying it. So early on, when you start doing testosterone replacement therapy, they want you to get your labs done regularly. You'll have days where you're just feeling crazy and insane. You don't know why, and you're just all over the place. Then over time, like I just don't, I mean, I probably should, but I don't even get labs done anymore. I don't get blood work because I know where my numbers are. I
Yeah.
feel it. I notice, oh, you're like really agitated today. Oh, your estrogen's a little higher up. You need some anastrozole. Oh, you're like a little more short tempered and short and lack of patience. Like, oh, you need this. Oh, your numbers are getting too high. How about we take about 5 days off of test? I feel it and I know it. And so, same happened with me with food. You are spot on, dude. For years, I beat and abused my body with pizza and cigarettes and constant alcohol and constant everything that yeah, I couldn't trust my body. I couldn't because all of the cells of my body had been fed with pizza, alcohol, all these things. So I remember I told this guy Steve at work. I told him this when I was losing weight. This guy fucking
It's always
Steve.
Steve, man. It's always Steve.
It's always this dude, Steve Perrine, I think his name was. And I told this dude I had never experienced this before, which sounds so crazy now. Dude, I never received energy from food prior to losing weight. Never, right? I drink coffee when I was younger and I would get energy from it, an energy drink, right? Um, and then once I started losing weight and I had now lost about 35 pounds, and it was eating very healthy, right? I would binge eat on the seventh day every week, but 6 days a week, I was eating green shakes, protein powder, beans, chicken. I mean, healthy, healthy stuff. Then it was like, oh, I'd get hungry. I would notice I'm a little tired. Let me eat. I would eat the beans, the eggs, and the salsa, and I would now actually feel like I used to feel when I would drink coffee. I mean, I was like, whoa, you get energy from food. And so that I think was the beginning stage of my body starting to understand what makes me feel good, what makes me doesn't, because I always just kind of felt like shit.
You got to take like a big it's so funny because I've been following a few of my friends are like coaches who are like helping people quit porn and stuff, right? And I see their shit. They post a lot of content, and it's the same concept, right? Where people that can't quit porn is like same people that can't quit eating unhealthy. And it's like, man, like just trust yourself to not do it for 7 days and see how you feel. And that same thing happens with unhealthy foods, right? Give yourself that break to where you start realizing like those epiphanies start happening. Like, holy shit, I never knew how good this felt to not be addicted to something like pornography or not be addicted to something like eating donuts every day. And that's one of the things I work a lot with my clients on because I just tell them, I'm like, hey, just trust me until you learn to trust yourself with food. Because a lot of people they kind of just like they just never get it. It's they go from diet to diet, they go from one place to another, and it's like they look at people that eat healthy as fitness, whatever. They're like, yeah, these addicts, like they just go to the gym and drink gallons of water and blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, that person's life changed and they love it so much that they continue doing it. It become part of their DNA. And now, dude, for example, I had a guy named Steve when I worked at McDonald's in high school. So I did my 2 years at McDonald's, and bro, back then I would eat McDonald's every time we worked because they would give you free lunch. After being out of it for so long, I competed at LA Fit Expo. Afterwards, like 3 weeks after that, best shape of my life, I go and get something from McDonald's. And I remember getting back to my car and it was so weird. And this sounds very dramatic, but it was real because I'm not a very dramatic person. Dude, I felt like somebody poisoned me. I literally felt like my stomach, like my body was shutting down in real time. And I remember sitting in my car and being like, dude, get to the bathroom because I feel like I'm about to throw up. And it was just a mixed chicken with some like, I think nuggets and like fries, something that I thought I was so used to. But now, after years of not having it because I didn't need it, now my body knew what it felt like to eat really healthy. That when I fed it that food, my body wasn't my brain, it wasn't anything, it was my body being like, fuck you, how dare you feed me that? And it was just like a real reaction. So now imagine me. Do you think I want McDonald's after that experience? Likely not. It's no longer like people are like, yeah, like, Mo, have some fries once in a while. And I was like, dude, I have fries. I eat sweet potato fries. I air fry them and they taste great. My body loves them. But when I go and have oily fried this stuff, my body hates it. And so it's just the point being like you can train your body to do whatever you want it to do. So you can get addicted to healthy food just as much as you can get addicted to unhealthy food. And that's where like what's that book, Atomic Habits, right? You can like program your brain in a way that it serves you versus being programmed in a way that, you're addicted to all the wrong things.
And you don't have to, you got to look at anybody listening to this. I would say, think about your life 1 year ago. So we are recording this right now on March 2nd. Think about March 2nd, 1 year ago. That doesn't feel like that long ago. Does it feel long ago for you?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, it's not that long ago. So March 2nd of next year is also not that long. But nobody wants the body that they would love to have in 1 year. They want it in 1 month. They want it in 90 days to shred all the fat and build all the muscle and all this. And so even with what you're talking about here, it's like with the getting addicted to healthy foods and reprogramming in that way, it doesn't have to be what people think it has to be. It just because you missed your green shake or you're not eating greens at all. Like you don't have to have a spirulina supplement with the spinach smoothie and the fucking whatever to do this. It's about finding the foods that are delicious. Another little another hack I've been doing recently that's fucking changed my life. Dude, one, I switched to egg whites instead of the full eggs, which that's just for people that are cutting. Eggs are very healthy. Everybody should eat a lot of eggs. I'm cutting, so I want more protein per calorie. That's why I'm doing that. So whether you do eggs or egg whites, dude, get some sugar-free syrup and just dump some sugar-free syrup on your eggs. It's delicious. Dude, it's 15
I like it.
it's 15 calories, and again, I am now excited for my eggs. I mean, you do these little things, you find these little hacks that make you excited to eat the foods that are going to be healthier for you. And so back to what we said about the staying around your maintenance calories. If your maintenance calories are, whatever, you plug it into the BMI. I went as far as to actually go get a test. I think I spent like $70. I breathed into this tube for, 20 minutes. I think they had me breathing into this tube. It was measuring my carbon dioxide. Like, I don't even know what it did. But I found out my resting calories are about 2,400 to 2,500. I think it was like around that. So let's just say that you out there listening, yours is 2,500, regardless of how you calculate that. You'll want to drop down to fucking 1,500 every day because you want to lose weight fast. You're like, fast, 30-day cut, 30-day cut. Bro, you're starving yourself. Now every time you look at something kind of delicious, it's like, oh, can't have that because I'm going to go over the 1,500. Instead of maybe just cutting down to, say, 2,200 calories, 2,300 even, and then working out a lot. Like, even maybe staying at the 25, but working out a lot with it to be in the deficit.
100%.
And
Go
so then,
slow.
so then the 1 year, instead of the 20 pounds in 1 month, let's do 5 pounds a month. Let's do 4 pounds a month, and then look at what your body could be in 1 year, where again, a year from now, it's not going to feel like that was anything. It's just like, you're just thanking yourself from a year ago, being like, thank God I fucking got smart, consistent. Everyone should work with Coach Moe, man. Your program is phenomenal. And one of the things you talk about all the time is you say, and you've said it already on this podcast, you say, choose a coach, do everything that coach tells you to do. And that is profound, because when you don't do that, when you do what I've done over the years, which is bounce around. Oh, this workout. I just saw this video where they say this workout stimulates growth hormone and insulin sensitivity and whatever. And now I'm on keto. And now I'm actually carbo loading before workouts. It's like, dude, pick anything kind of. Pick a coach, pick a thing, and then stick with that long term. And that's how you're going to get results.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the hack to success. Like, listen to one person. Like, I think we started this podcast with you being like, I'm just focusing on one program. That's what I offer. That's how people work with me. If you focus on one thing, you win. And that's been the focus of my life. One thing. There's only one way to work with me. That's training the Titans. There's only one program, one pricing structure, one business. Like, dude, that's how you win in anything. And one of my friends, Alex, he calls it "woman in the red dress" from the Matrix. And it's true, because he says, the better you get, the hotter the woman in the red dress gets too. So that means the better you get at whatever you're doing, the more no's you should say, because the woman in the red dress will keep getting hotter and hotter, and she's a distraction. And every time you get better at whatever you're doing, there'll be more distractions to say no to at times. And for me in fitness, or with any of my clients, it's like someone starts getting some results, and then they're like, oh, now I know calories, and let me go do vegan diet, or let me go do ketogenic diet. And the distractions are fucking tenfold. And I'm like, no. And sometimes, like, I have to put my hands on their shoulders and be like, hey, straight ahead until we win, until you have the medal around your neck and you're like victorious. Do that one thing, because it's getting you results. And too often, the woman in the red dress is so appealing. People are like, oh, like, I lost 10 pounds with this, I'm gonna go do that because that just sounds better. And I'm like, I had a client like not too long ago that I had to give this speech to, like 6 months ago, and he all of a sudden, like, he wanted to get shredded for the first time in his life. We were getting results. He's like only like 10 pounds away. And then I talked to him, and he's skipping his workouts. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, just talk to me, like, man to man, what is going on? And he goes, yeah, man, I've been wanting to get into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I also really want to do CrossFit. I really want to do this. Boxing is really cool. UFC is really cool. And I'm like, shit, it's the woman in the red dress syndrome happening in real time to you. Like, you just started getting results with strength training and eating properly. And now your goal is still not achieved, because now you will go and spend the next 10 months with this hot woman in the red dress, and you still won't be at your goal. So then you'll end up being depressed and sad because you didn't hit your goal. So why not spend another 2 months, focus on one thing, get the results you want, and then we have the rest of our life to entertain her. We can do all those distractions later, but just recognize that they are distractions. And that's why, like, I mean, in business, what is it? 92% of businesses fail. Why? Well, because they start one business, they make a little bit of money, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to go do Bitcoin. I'm going to do drop shipping. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Bro, I shit you not. I've only done this one thing, and I know a thing or two about business. I was in corporate America for some time, and I just like, you cannot get me distracted because I know every distraction comes at a cost. So every time I entertain an idea that is just sometimes the better you get, those things show up as opportunities. And it's like, but you got to know the opportunity cost of that thing. So if I try a new diet, just know that there's going to be an opportunity cost and it might distract you from your actual goal. And are you happy? Like, are you happy with that? Like, know that in your head. And I think most people, the shiny object syndrome gets to them. They try one diet, see results, maybe lose a few pounds. They run to the other diet because that one, everyone is doing that one. So let's do that. But once you get in it, it looks hard. So then they're like, oh, that one looks easier. So let's go there. But if you just stay on their lane, you would have gotten results so much faster, man. Like,
and what is going to make people fall off so the shiny object syndrome, the woman in the red dress, what's going to make it even more appealing to move towards that distraction is when what you're doing daily is killing you, when it's killing you, right? So people are, I am now like an anti keto warrior. I don't know if you know this about me. I don't know. I don't remember where you stand on keto. I don't know your
uh,
thoughts
so
on it.
I'm a big fan of dietary fast. I'm not a fan of keto. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, like balance everything, do it, but don't do keto. I know keto gets people great results, but a lot of it becomes vanity metrics where it's like, oh, I lost 6 pounds this week or 8 pounds this week. And then everybody gains the weight back when they introduce some carbs back. And then they get depressed and then they binge and it's a bad cycle. So I'm not a fan of keto. Dietary fats though, like, yeah, that's something I could write a book on. I'm a big fan.
What does, could you, real quick, I want to say, I never track anything other than calories and protein. Now, that
Mhm.
being said, I would assume from everything I eat that I get a lot of dietary fats, but I can truly say right now that I know zero about what you're talking about. So, could you just like explain what you mean by, you seem passionate about it, like definitely get dietary fats or whatever.
Bro, so I'll
What's the
give you
deal? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little rundown of my current routine. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? So the way that I have it layered up is my breakfast is full with fat. So what that means is I have whole eggs in the morning. I make bulletproof coffee in the morning. So I have a lot of heavy whipping cream, coconut oil, my breakfast and almonds. So my breakfast is eggs, almonds, and bulletproof coffee. So I'm getting really good fat in the morning, and that takes away all the brain fog I have. My brain is super clear. I have this consistent energy until about 1 p.m. And that's when I eat my lunch. And my lunch is generally really high in protein, which means chicken, turkey, beef, whatever I have, but it's heavily on the protein side with some vegetables. And maybe I'll add some like rice with it if I want to. But that's how I structure it. So the morning has all the fats because I'm waking up. I'm trying to get a lot of my best work done in the morning. My lunch is more protein because this is when I've already worked out. My body needs that, chicken and all those proteins to build that muscle. And then my dinner is generally the highest in carbohydrates. Why is that, right? Because you're not supposed to eat carbs before you go to bed because you get fat. It's not true. Generally, if you have trouble carbs at night, make sure that you get enough sleep. So what happens is carbs, if you eat them an hour or two before bed, you will end up feeling like having a better night of sleep. And I've done like my own study on it where I would track my sleep and I would be like, yeah, like I felt like I was able to fall asleep better. I stayed in my deep sleep more just because they were in my blood. And yeah, so like they've done even studies where carbs at night help you. So if I have a client that just cannot fall asleep, I'll recommend some supplements for them. But one of the earliest things we try is we structure their dinner in a way that is 2 hours before bed that is high in carbs. So fats, almonds, steaks, red meat generally. I know there's a whole crusade of vegan people that are anti-steak. I shit you not. If you're someone that's not vegan by belief, stick to your steaks and like red meat just because they are good for you. Especially because a lot of guys, I feel like they're naturally low in testosterone these days because they're overweight eating red meat, like you will notice a clear difference. You will start feeling so much better. That's why like
Mm.
I've become a big fan of like meats that are high in fat lately, just because in the last 2 years I've not only like felt great benefits myself, but there are clients of mine that they just love it because they get better results with it. Like we get faster
Mm.
results when we introduce red meat into their diet. Obviously, keep it organic, keep it healthy, but I know there's so much propaganda against red meat, and as a fitness professional and someone who's trained so many people, I'm just not for it. Like, okay, go vegan if you that's your belief, religious belief, or ethical beliefs, but don't go vegan because it looks healthy. Because at times, every vegan client I worked with, they're so deficient in some very key nutrients that we have to load them with supplements. But if you're a normal person who eats meat and can do that, like you're actually healthier in the long run.
Yeah, I think could you go no red meat? What do you think? Like me right now, if I'm continuing to try to get jacked and shit, could I
Yeah.
completely cut out red meat? Could I cut out steak? Could I cut out beef?
I would say so. I mean, like you could, right, if you want to, especially if you're cutting because it'll save you a lot of calories, right? So to get the same amount of protein from chicken is a lot less calories than to get it from steak, right? Steak also has a lot of fats in it. But if you're truly going for optimal performance, like high performance, like you're building this billion-dollar company or whatever you're trying to go after in life, and you want every single thing to be optimized, I would say add in a steak or two once or twice a week because it will help you. It will help keep your testosterone higher. It'll give you more clear energy with your brain to be able to do better work. But then again, you can have salmon and just like salmon. And I feel like if you look at another good protein that is also really good omega-3 fats and all of it, that's salmon. So you can also add
Mm.
salmon if you're not into red meat, do that. But don't cut out meat entirely, or don't cut out dairy entirely, or don't cut out just because someone on Instagram told you to. Like test it on yourself. Like I, for example, do really well with certain foods, and there are certain foods that even though they're healthy, my body's like, nah, not a fan.
Mm.
So that's why like I've never been a big proponent of one diet over another. I've always been like, hey, balance it out, see what works better for you. So for me, it's like lately the routine that works really well is heavy fats for breakfast, heavy protein for lunch, and higher carbs for dinner. But everything is like kind of like I need to get enough protein every day, so I still make it work. I add in a protein shake, whatever. But if you can have these little routines, even when you're traveling, you'll still be fine because you have those in place.
Yeah, and I think too, it's the reason why it sounds so cliche, but like it's all about balance, right? I mean, the reason why that does hold true is because I've found again from crash diet after crash diet that I look at foods and I think to myself one of two things. Oh, I can never have that. Like I look at a French bread pizza. I love French bread pizza, all right? I look at it and when I'm on a crash diet, I either think, "Oh, I'm never going to be able to have that again," or I'm like, oh, I can't have that till Sunday, till my cheat day, and that's 5 days away from now, right? I create this sort of like, that's now the shiny object is the French bread pizza. It's like, I want the French bread and I can't have it. Whereas if you are living in balance, if you are just tracking macros and kind of like going for higher protein, going for heavier,
Yeah.
good fat, stuff like that, but I can now, if I'm really just tracking calories and protein and working out very well, then guess what? I can see on that box it's 800 calories for that French bread pizza. So now, how about I intermittent fast today, stick to low calorie, high protein foods throughout the day, and then for dinner, it's fucking French bread pizza time. And I'm not killing myself. I'm not beating myself up, feeling bad, thus causing a cortisol spike, thus causing me to hold on to more fat. That's a that's an interesting thing I've heard as well is that a lot of the times when people have really fucked up relationships with food, you will be eating something that's not good for you and hating yourself during it, stressing about it, thinking about how fat you're going to get, releasing cortisol, which is the one hormone that literally tells your body to store fat more. So even the mental relationship you have with food is it can kill you, it can make or break you. I mean, it's insane.
100%. 100%. That's like the whole like stress eating, emotional eating side of things, right? And it's cortisol hormones play a big role. And if you that's what like literally the whole strategy that you said. If you're gonna have pizza, look at the calories and be like, all right, 800 calories, perfect, cool. I'll just allocate that for my dinner tonight. And that just means I skip breakfast maybe, and that'll make enough room for everything. And then this is another key one. When you eat that pizza, fucking enjoy it. Get into it. Like, like take it all in. Don't be feeling guilty about anything. That's one thing I tell my clients. I'm like, hey, how was this week? And they'll be like, Coach, I did horrible this weekend. And I was like, what was horrible? They're like, I ate cookies. I'm like, how many? They're like, 2. I'm like, that's not horrible. Move on. Right. So the sooner you can move on from that guilt, the better. So like, first of all, you shouldn't feel guilty about it. Second, if you do, get over it fast. Right? It's kind of the same thing. And like, oh, if a girl says no to you, move on, dude. Champions have short memories. Like, they just move on. Like, do you really think like if Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan miss a shot, they're gonna be worried about that shot for next 2 hours? No, let's go on and make more shots. Right? Same thing here with food. Like my clients that even if they mess up, they're like, no worries. Tomorrow the sun is gonna rise again, and I'll be back on track. The sooner you can forgive yourself, there's also that aspect of self-forgiveness and self-love, because it's like, yeah, I fucked up. It's so good. Tomorrow we'll get back on track. And versus some people, they like spend, if that fuck up happened on Tuesday, they spend the rest of the week feeling guilty about that fuck up, which creates more tension, more stress. Versus like if you wake up Wednesday morning being like, all right, new day, let's get it. And then they get back on track and life is good again. Those are my favorite clients. Like the ones that just,
profound quote. Champions have short memories. I love that, dude. That's amazing. Hey, we're gonna wrap up this episode. Mo, will you come back on the show again soon?
Totally. This was fun.
And it is on Instagram. You are Moe, Moe Ghais, correct?
Ghias.
IAS. I am following Coach Mo on Instagram. You guys will be able to follow both of us. If you're listening to this right now and you don't follow me, you're a fool. Follow me on Instagram as well, Evolution Daily, and make sure to leave the show a 5-star review on iTunes. I appreciate everybody that did it last week. You guys rock. Mo, thank you for being on the show, dude.
Dude, I love it. Make sure the title of this podcast is Champions Have Short Memories. Something like that.
Champions have short memories. Hell yeah. All right, bro. Thank you.
All right, brother.